Hi and welcome to Views from the Valley, another roundup of the news here in the United States, coming to you from v3.co.uk's offices in San Francisco. With me as ever is Sean Nichols. Hi Sean.
Hi Ian.
Right, okay, well, the big news of the week has been some shock departures. Mark Hurd, head of HP, the world's biggest personal computer firm, was asked to resign, I think is a nice way to put it, after he was found fiddling his expenses. So, as a Silicon Valley veteran, I mean, it's
fiddling is the accurate word there.
Well, yes, there was a female contractor involved, but both admit there was, or both sort of very keen, in fact, to state that there was no physical relationship. It was.
Well, then, how did he end up spending $28,000 of company money?
I've seen some of the hotel costs in Beverly Hills are very high. I'm sure he's a man of. No, I'm sorry. If the HP board can't say he's a man of utmost integrity, how can I? I mean, yeah, okay. It looks like he had a non-fling with the contractor, which brought about his resignation. Okay, come on. The cynic's point of view. You're obviously dying to say it. Bearing in mind libel laws, I have to say.
I won't go there in any of the salacious details or non-details.
Oh, come on, Mark Hurd, you've seen the guy. I mean, it's like, I was going to say like John Major having an affair, but that's probably a bad example to give.
Yeah, but it's a shame because from a business standpoint, he was doing a very, very good job of turning HP around.
Definitely.
I mean, they kind of got over the whole thing with Compaq, and they're starting to get some very solid products and offerings. It seemed like they had a good strategy, and then this Palm thing was kind of, but you could see where it was going.
Palm made sense. EDS made great sense. 3Com, we'll see.
Yeah, it's funny though, because I know one of the first people who's really kind of stepped out in Hurd's defense is Larry Ellison, which is kind of,
yes.
Given some of the stories about Larry Ellison, what Hurd did is like a Tuesday afternoon.
Well, bearing in mind, I mean, the Oracle president had his mistress put a full billboard in New York explaining her extramarital affairs with him, and the guy was, still in his role, so...
Yeah, I mean, and his point of view, I think, is, it's basically, look, he was doing an excellent job of leading the company. This is a personal thing, but the fact that he spent a lot of company money probably doesn't help much.
It doesn't go down well with HP board. They're an old-fashioned sort that way. Even though I have seen documents today, which I can't verify, but apparently a couple of HP senior execs had their kids in a particular school, and HP offered to, as part of their charitable work, to put a data center in this school, even though it's one of the top rated and funded schools in the business.
Yeah, I mean, there is a pretty fair amount of hypocrisy here. Basically, HP is saying that it's worse to, pursue an affair with a contractor than it is to bug the offices of several news organizations and
which
some of your top
got away with, yeah.
Exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, that's something that HP had.
I signed off on something where I didn't know about the pretexting side of things.
And now all of a sudden he needs to go because he tried to have an affair. It's kind of...
yeah, I know. But on the more explainable side, though, we've also had another big job shift with Papermaster leaving Apple.
Mark Papermaster, who was brought in less than 2 years ago, and actually it's kind of funny because Apple really had a kind of a headache bringing him in because he was an IBM executive.
Sued them. I mean,
and basically
all their IP.
Yeah, basically they had pretty much promised that he was only going to work on the iPhone and he wasn't going to be, taking all of the processor designs and everything. But he is now, less than 2 years, he is now gone.
Yes, one can't help wondering if AntennaGate had something to do with it.
The initial reaction, I think, is that he's kind of taking the fall for the AntennaGate thing. On the other hand, there's also, I don't know if it's the official explanation or not, but suggestions that he actually didn't really fit in very well with the culture there at Apple, which would make sense when coming from...
Well, 26-year IBM guy moving to Apple could be slightly tricky.
Yeah, IBM's really loosened up, I think, in the recent years. You don't have to go and wear a suit and tie everywhere, but they're
still fairly close.
Yeah, they're still a very formal corporate company, and if he were to say, question some of the things Steve Jobs said or the things that might be standard amongst other executives, I could see where he could be at odds with a lot of other Apple executives and management team.
No, I can see it. It's we're going to see. I mean, Bob Wakefield's taken over the hardware role, so we'll see. Personally, we were talking about this earlier, and we're expecting a very fast iteration of iPhone 5 to come through. But we shall see. Now, in terms of other news, I had a webinar session with Oracle today, and they've been laying out their plans for server and software strategy. Basically, if you're willing to buy Oracle and sign all the way up the line, then they'll have dedicated hardware servers with what they're claiming is X40 application speed over the next 5 years. It comes back to what we were talking about earlier. Do you really want to get locked into one supplier and have Oracle dictating where things go? I mean, Larry is not the most level-headed of CEOs in some respects.
No, on the other hand, if you're talking about databases, these sort of things, it's something where you want stability above anything else. Yes, performance is nice. Yes, value, that's all good. But basically, you want stability, which if you stick with one company, top to bottom, you're not going to have a lot of, some of the other issues, as far as integration and all that. So I can see where that could appeal to a lot of areas.
I think, yes, you will certainly have stability, but I think you'll pay for it for the nose. I mean, if you hand your entire system over to Oracle, based on past customer experience, they're really going to start ratcheting.
Ian, are you actually suggesting to me that going with a single company top to bottom, like, say, Apple, would somehow make you pay a premium?
I know it sounds counterintuitive, I know, Sean, but really, I mean, I do think there's a small danger for the CIO considering this. I mean, Oracle, of course, trustworthy people. We would never say a word against. Okay, we would say a few words against them, but still. So we'll have to see how that is. And then finally, it's the fun item of the day, because I'm a Verizon user in the US, and like millions of Verizon users, we can't get the iPhone. And as a smug iPhone user, you wrote a story about how we're now going to get it.
As an AT&T customer, I'm very much ready for Verizon to get the iPhone, actually. There's been a couple, we've heard a couple rumblings. There's also been some reports from a few other outlets. Now there's a suggestion from AT&T basically saying that, telling their investors we can't put all our eggs in one basket here, we can't be dependent on one line, so we're going to try and diversify, add more phones. Put it all together, a lot of it points to AT&T's exclusivity agreement expiring very soon here, and Verizon getting the iPhone in January of 2011.
Well, I mean, if it works, it's certainly going to be a major step and a major blow for AT&T, because they've been spending so much money trying to lock down every data-efficient phone on the market. It's a pity their network can't actually cope with the amount of data they're dealing with. But when you're an AT&T customer, judging from our conversations over the past year or so, I gather if you were put in a room with an AT&T management executive, you'd like a baseball bat in your hand?
Trying to delicately formulate this. If I had the chance to go to Verizon, I definitely would consider it. I was using T-Mobile before, and granted I didn't have a smartphone. I just had a regular voice phone. But it seemed to be a lot more reliable. The reception seemed to be a lot more consistent. And that's kind of the thing with AT&T, is that their network really wasn't ready for something this big, this popular.
Yeah.
Maybe at the time nobody's network was, but AT&T in particular really, really buckled once the iPhone got more and more popular.
Yeah, I mean, they did insist that they were spending billions in terms of renovating their network, but I know from certainly people in San Francisco, if you try making a call, you've got to basically guarantee yourself 2 or 3 dropped calls a day. It's not enough.
Well, and the other thing is there really was, I mean, I really haven't heard much from AT&T in terms of a WiMAX or an LTE, any sort of, 4G.
They've got all their hands full coping with the network as it stands at the moment, which, let's face it, is falling down. But yes, well, we shall see. I mean, personally, I'm hoping for it, but, it's basically competition is good within the marketplace. In the UK, you're in a very fortunate position in that respect. We shall see how this develops. In the meantime, you can read about more on these other stories at v3.co.uk.